The unheard cry. The Valen warships descended on Ataraxia Prime like metallic predators, their angular hulls reflecting the dying light of the system's twin suns. It was the third planet to fall in as many cycles, each conquest quicker than the last. The Ataraxians were peaceful philosophers and artists, their crystalline cities monuments to harmony rather than defense. They had no weapons that could pierce Valen armor, no shields to withstand their particle beams, no warriors trained in the art of killing. Supreme Commander Xal watched from the bridge of his flagship, the unyielding truth, as his forces methodically dismantled Ataraxian resistance. His scaled skin glistened in the blue glow of tactical displays, 6 eyes blinking in different rhythms as they tracked multiple battle fronts. Another glorious conquest for the Valen Empire. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Varix, hissed with satisfaction. These creatures barely understood what hit them. Kill's mandibles clicked with mild disappointment. I had hoped for more challenge. The diplomatic archives suggested they had powerful allies. Allies who abandoned them, Varix said, as all eventually do when facing Valen might. Below on the surface, Ataraxian elders gathered in their crystal spire, the central hub of their civilization. Elder Neria, her translucent skin now cloudy with age and fear, activated the ancient beacon, a technology their ancestors had installed millennia ago, during the first great expansion. There must be someone listening, she whispered, her delicate fingers trembling over the controls. Someone must hear. The void is vast and cold, Neria, Elder Thelum said, his voice breaking. No one has answered such calls in generations. The signal shot outward, encoded with their plight, carrying their desperation across countless light years. Most species detection technology wouldn't even register it. The signal used quantum entanglement principles that few civilizations had mastered. We still believe in hope, Neria said firmly. It is what defines us. Outside, Valen ground troops marched through the gleaming streets. 8-limbed soldiers with biomechanical enhancements stormed through crystalline archways, their weapons reducing centuries of art as shards beneath their armored feet. Civilians scattered, their harmonious songs replaced by screams. The signal traveled, stretching across the darkness between stars, passing dead systems and bustling ones, ignored by many advanced civilizations who had protocols against intervention. It seemed destined to be another unheard cry in the cosmic wilderness. Until it reached Earth. Captain Sonia Wei sat bolt upright in her chair when the alert pinged on her monitoring station. The deep space listening post on Europa wasn't meant to pick up communications this faint, this distant, or this strange. Sir, she called to her commanding officer, I'm detecting something unusual. Commander Jackson leaned over her shoulder, frowning at the readings. That's not using any communication standard I've ever seen. It's not, Wei confirmed, fingers flying over her console. But the quantum signatures match predictions from Dr. Chen's theoretical papers on advanced communication methods. If I'm reading this right, it's a distress call. Within hours, the signal was being analyzed by the best minds in the United Defense Force. Dr. Aisha Chen herself was called from her research facility on Mars to verify the findings. It's legitimate, she announced to the Emergency Assembly of the Earth Defense Council. An advanced civilization approximately 87 light-years away is under attack. They call themselves the Ataraxians. General Marcus Hayes, the grizzled veteran who had led Earth through the Mars Rebellion and the Titan Crisis, stood with his hands clasped behind his back. And why should this concern us? We have our own systems to protect. Dr. Chen's eyes flashed. Because they asked for help. And because whoever is attacking them could eventually find their way here. The council chambers erupted in debate. Earth had only recently unified after centuries of conflict. Their technology was advancing rapidly, but they were still newcomers to interstellar politics. Intervention could be viewed as aggression by other powers. Admiral Elena Reyes listened silently from her seat. Unlike most of the military leadership, she hadn't come up through traditional channels. Reyes had been a refugee, then a rebel, then a tactical genius who rewrote combat doctrine. The scars on her face told stories of battles that official records couldn't capture. "If I may," she finally spoke, her voice cutting through the noise. The room fell silent. Rise rarely addressed the council. The signal used quantum communication principles. "That's not just advanced. It's precisely the technology we've been developing in secret. This isn't coincidence. Someone out there thinks like us." President Tran nodded slowly. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "A limited intervention. My strike team. The new Thunderbolt-class carriers. We can use Dr. Chen's experimental wormhole drive to arrive within days instead of decades." General Hayes scoffed. "The wormhole drive has only been tested on unmanned probes." "Then we'll be the first," Rise replied evenly. "My people volunteer." The vote was narrow, but Earth would answer the call. The UEA's Defiant hummed with energy as final preparations were made. The massive ship had been constructed in Earth's orbital shipyards, designed for battles that humanity had hoped would never come. Now it would be their first emissary to a distant war. Admiral Rise walked through the ship's corridors, nodding to crew members who stood at attention as she passed. These weren't just soldiers. They were Earth's finest, many veterans of the corporate wars and the asteroid belt conflicts. They knew the cost of violence and the value of intervention. In the briefing room, her strike team commanders waited. Major Dante Romano, his cybernetic eye glowing faintly, Captain Hiroshi Tanaka, whose precision in close-quarters combat was legendary, Lieutenant Sofia Martinez, the youngest person ever to command a special tactics unit. "Ladies and gentlemen," Rise began, activating the holographic display of the Ataraxian system. "In 6 hours, we make history. The first human military force to engage in combat beyond our solar system." Romano leaned forward. "What's our intel on the enemy?" "Limited," Rise admitted. "We're calling them the Valen, based on fragments decoded from the distress signal. They appear to be conquerors, methodical and well-equipped. The Ataraxians are peaceful, with minimal defenses." "So we're walking into a massacre," Martin said quietly. "We're walking into a rescue mission," Rise corrected. "And yes, the odds are against us. We'll be outnumbered and fighting in unfamiliar territory. But we have 2 advantages. They don't know we're coming, and they've never faced humans before." Tanaka nodded, a grim smile forming. "They'll learn." The briefing continued, tactics discussed, contingencies planned. As the team dispersed to their units, Dr. Chen approached Rise in the corridor. "The wormhole calculations are complete," she said. "But I must warn you again, there's a margin of error. We could emerge up to half a light day off target." Rise clasped the scientist's shoulder. "We'll manage. Your work is going to change everything, Aisha." "Just come back," Chen replied softly. "All of you." The jump was a nightmare of twisted physics and violated natural laws. Crew members who had faced death without flinching found themselves praying as reality itself seemed to fold around the Defiant. The ship's AI reported system failures faster than technicians could acknowledge them. Then, suddenly, calm. Stars reappeared in viewports. Systems stabilized. "Position report," Rise ordered, her voice steady despite the blood trickling from her nose. "A common side effect of wormhole transition. We're in the Ataraxian system," the navigation officer confirmed. "Approximately 12 astronomical units from the 3rd planet. Multiple contacts detected." The tactical display showed dozens of warships orbiting Ataraxia Prime. The planet's surface flickered with weapons fire and burning cities. "We're not too late," Rise said, straightening her uniform. "Launch stealth reconnaissance drones. I want detailed scans of their fleet composition and defensive capabilities." Within an hour, the picture became clear. The Valen ships were impressive. Heavily armed, well-armored, with energy weapons more advanced than Earth's best. But they had weaknesses. Their formations were rigid, predictable. Their sensor coverage had gaps. Most importantly, they showed no signs of detecting the Defiant. They're used to being the apex predator, Romano observed during the officer briefing. They're not looking over their shoulders. Ray studied the holographic representation of the largest Valen vessel. Then let's remind them what that feels like. Hunting party deployment in 30 minutes. Target their flagship's engines and communication array. No survivors. The UES Defiance launch bays opened silently, disgorging small matte black assault craft. Unlike the bulky Valen ships, these were sleek, designed for stealth and speed. Each carried a 5-person team of Earth's most lethal special forces. Major Romano led the first team, approaching the Valen flagship from its ventral blind spot. Their craft attached to the hull like a parasite, cutting tools silently burning through alien metal. Breach complete, Romano reported quietly. Entering now. The first Valen to die never saw the humans. One moment it was monitoring engine telemetry. The next a monofilament wire had separated its head from its body. The second managed to reach for an alarm before a silence shot turned its brain to mist. Different anatomy than the briefing suggested, Romano commented over the secure channel. Sending updated visuals now. The humans moved through the ship like ghosts, placing charges at critical junctions, eliminating crew with cold efficiency. When they reached the engine control room, they found it more heavily defended. 6 Valen warriors in what appeared to be ceremonial armor. Let's see how they handle close quarters, Romano said, and gave the signal. The firefight lasted less than 30 seconds. The Valen were strong, their reflexes quick, but they fought by rote, following battlefield doctrines that hadn't been challenged in generations. The humans were creative, savage, using the environment, using each other's movements, fighting not as individuals, but as a single killing mechanism with 5 components. Engine room secure, Romano reported. Charges set. Moving to communications. Elsewhere in the system, other teams struck different targets. A Valen supply vessel mysteriously lost pressure in all decks simultaneously. A patrol cruiser's weapon systems suddenly targeted its own escort. Confusion spread through the Valen fleet. On the bridge of the unyielding truth, Supreme Commander Xal demanded answers that his subordinates couldn't provide. Unknown attackers was all they could report, possibly using stealth technology we cannot counter. Impossible, Xal snarled. No species in this sector possesses such capability. That's when the charges detonated throughout his flagship. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, trapping crews in compartments that were rapidly depressurizing. The mighty vessel's spine broke in 3 places, atmosphere venting in spectacular plumes. Across the fleet, other explosions blossomed in perfect synchronization. 12 ships crippled in a single coordinated strike. From the command deck of the Defiant, Admiral Rice watched the chaos unfold. Phase 1 complete, she noted calmly. Now they know they're being hunted. Launch the main assault. Let's show the Valen what Earth brings to a fight. The Defiant decloaked, weapons systems coming online, and accelerated toward the wounded Valen fleet. Behind it, 24 smaller warships appeared. The full strike force, hidden until this moment. Reyes opened a channel broadcasting on all frequencies the Valen used. Her message was simple. This is Admiral Elena Reyes of Earth. You are attacking a peaceful civilization that has asked for our help. Withdraw immediately or face extinction. You have 10 minutes to comply. On Ataraxia Prime, in the battered remains of the Crystal Spire, Elder Neria felt the ground shake as another Valen bombardment struck nearby. She had lost hope hours ago, watching her world burn. Then a young aide burst into the chamber, eyes wide with disbelief. Elders, the Valen ships, they're falling from the sky. Someone has come. Neria looked upward, through the shattered crystal roof, at the fiery streaks of dying warships entering the atmosphere. Who? She whispered. Who would dare challenge the Valen? The aide's voice trembled with wonder. They call themselves humans. They say they heard our call. Fire and determination. Supreme Commander Xal had never experienced defeat, In 3 centuries of military service to the Valen Empire, he had conquered 17 worlds and subjugated dozens of species. His name was whispered in fear across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Yet now, as he watched the tactical display from his emergency command center, he faced an incomprehensible reality. His forces were in retreat. "Identify them," he roared, his talons gouging deep marks into the metal console. "Where did they come from? How did they penetrate our defenses?" Sub-Commander Verix worked frantically at her station, analyzing the limited data they had gathered. "The translation matrix has processed their communication. They call themselves humans from a planet called Earth. Our records show no prior contact with this species. Their technology, inferior to ours in many aspects," Verix admitted, but applied with unexpected innovation. "Their ships are smaller, less powerful, but faster and apparently capable of some form of advanced stealth technology. Their troops," she hesitated. "Speak," Xul demanded. "Their ground forces do not fight according to any documented battle doctrine. They are using our formations against us, exploiting gaps we didn't know existed. They are adaptable," Xul hissed in frustration. The emergency bunker shook as another bombardment struck nearby. His remaining ships in orbit were fighting a losing battle against the human fleet. Not through superior firepower, the Valen still held the advantage there, but through tactics that bordered on madness. The humans separated their forces, making themselves vulnerable, only to converge at precisely the right moment to overwhelm a critical target. "Signal the homeworld," he ordered. "Request reinforcements." Verix's lower eyes blinked in surprise. "Request, not demand." Xul fixed her with a cold stare. "I will not be the supreme commander who demanded ships only to have none left by the time they arrived. Send the signal." Admiral Reyes stood in the UES Defiance war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the battle in real time. The Valen were learning, adapting their tactics, but not quickly enough. Their rigid hierarchy slowed decision-making. Every adjustment required approval from superiors. "Major Romano's team has secured the southern continent's primary city," reported Captain Tanaka. "Lieutenant Martinez has disrupted their supply lines in 3 sectors." Reyes nodded, studying the planetary display. "And the civilian casualties?" "Minimal since our arrival," Tanaka confirmed. "The Valen diverted forces from population centers to counter our attacks, just as you predicted. They value military objectives over terror tactics," Reyes observed. "Professionals, not monsters. That's something we can use." The ship's AI interrupted with a priority alert. "Admiral, we've detected a quantum communication pulse leaving the system. Based on trajectory and signal strength, it appears to be a distress call to the Valen homeworld." Reyes's expression hardened. "Time frame for reinforcements?" "Unknown, but given observed Valen technology, they could arrive within days." The Admiral turned to her staff. "Then we have days to end this. Push harder. I want boots on the ground in every major Valen holdout within 12 hours, and get me a direct line to Commander Xul." On the surface of Ataraxia Prime, Earth's forces moved like water-finding cracks in stone. Where the Valen expected frontal assaults, humans infiltrated from multiple angles. Where they fortified positions, humans simply bypassed them, striking softer targets and isolating strongpoints. Major Romano led a mixed unit of human soldiers and newly armed Ataraxian volunteers through the ruins of what had once been a cultural center. The crystalline architecture lay shattered, but the determination in the eyes of the Ataraxians remained unbroken. "They learned quickly," Romano told his second-in-command as they watched an Ataraxian accurately sight down the barrel of an Earth-manufactured rifle. "Different physiology, but the same will to fight for their home." "You think they'll hold if we have to leave?" asked the sergeant. Romano considered the question. "I think the Valen will think twice before returning here, regardless. Some lessons stick." Their comms buzzed with an incoming transmission from Lieutenant Martinez. "Major, we intercepted Valen communications. They're consolidating forces around their command center in the capital. Looks like they're digging in for a last stand. Romano smiled grimly. Or setting a trap. Alert the Admiral. We'll proceed with caution. Supreme Commander Xal had abandoned his ceremonial armor for battle gear that had seen use in his younger days. Around him, his most elite guards prepared for what might be their final conflict. The humans have requested direct communication, Varix informed him. Xal's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. They wish to negotiate surrender. They did not specify. The request came directly from their commander. Put them through. Let me look upon the face of this. Admiral Reyes. The holographic display flickered, and then showed a human female. Xal was struck by how fragile she appeared, soft-skinned, without natural armor or significant physical strength. Yet her eyes held something that Xal recognized from his own mirror, the gaze of a predator. Supreme Commander Xal, Reyes began without preamble. Your reinforcements will not arrive in time. You have lost this campaign. Xal straightened to his full height. The Valen Empire does not recognize defeat, human. We may lose a battle, but the war will continue until your species is subjugated or extinct. Reyes's expression didn't change. Is that why you've gathered your remaining forces in a heavily fortified position? To continue the war. To deny you an easy victory, Xal replied. Every human who dies taking this fortress is one less threat to the Empire, and every Ataraxian civilian caught in the crossfire. Are they threats too? Xal hesitated, unsure of the human's angle. Casualties of war. Unavoidable. No, Reyes said flatly. Unnecessary. Your position is surrounded. Your fleet is destroyed or captured. I'm offering you a choice, Commander. Surrender your forces and leave this system under guard, or we activate the Prometheus Protocol. You threaten me with an unknown weapon. Xal laughed harshly. The Valen do not yield to empty threats. Not empty, Reyes replied calmly. And not precisely a weapon. The Prometheus Protocol is something we developed for situations exactly like this. You have 1 hour to decide. The communication ended abruptly, leaving Xal staring at empty space. Analysis, he demanded of his intelligence officer. Unknown, Commander. We have no data on any Prometheus protocol. It could be a bluff. Xal turned away, moving to a viewport that overlooked the burning city. No. I saw truth in those alien eyes. Prepare for an assault unlike any we have faced before. Aboard the Defiant, Dr. Chen worked frantically to complete the final calibrations on what was officially designated Strategic Option Omega, but which the troops had nicknamed the Prometheus Protocol. This was never meant to be used in an actual combat situation. She told Admiral Reyes, the simulations suggest it will work, but the energy requirements are enormous. Will it minimize civilian casualties? Chen nodded. If it works as designed, yes. The effect should be localized to the Valen compound and approximately 50 meters beyond its perimeter. Then we proceed, Reyes said. The alternative is a ground assault that would cost thousands of lives on both sides. As the hour deadline approached, Reyes returned to the bridge. Status of our ground forces. All units in position, Tanaka reported. Evacuation of civilians within the potential effect radius is complete. And the Valen. No response to our ultimatum. They've reinforced their positions and appear to be preparing for a last stand. Reyes nodded once. Begin the Prometheus sequence. Supreme Commander Xal felt it first as a strange vibration through the soles of his feet. Then the air itself seemed to thicken, becoming difficult to breathe. Around him, equipment malfunctioned, displays flickering with impossible readings. What is happening? He demanded, but his officers had no answers. The effect intensified. Gravity seemed to fluctuate. Objects became heavier, then lighter. Sound distorted. And then came the voices, human voices, from everywhere and nowhere, speaking perfect Valen. Your weapons are now disabled, they said in unison. Your communications have been severed. You exist, at this moment, partially outside normal space-time. Saul tried to reach for his sidearm, but his limbs moved as if through thick liquid. Impossible, he gasped. The Prometheus Protocol creates a localized field where physics itself becomes negotiable. The voices continued. We control the fundamental forces within this bubble. You cannot fight. You cannot flee. You can only listen. Around the command center, Valen soldiers collapsed, their biological systems unable to cope with the shifting reality. Zul remained standing through sheer will, though blood now seeped from his eye membranes. What do you want? He managed to ask. A single voice now, female, Admiral Reyes. Your surrender, your withdrawal from this system, and your word, bound by whatever honor the Valen possess, that you will never return. And if I refuse, then we collapse the field. The resulting implosion will erase this compound and everyone in it from existence. Saul believed her. Something in the utter confidence of that human voice left no room for doubt. They had mastered forces the Valen had only theorized about. You could have used this from the beginning, he said, realization dawning. Destroyed us without warning. We could have, Reyes agreed. But humans prefer to give choices, even to enemies. What is yours, Commander? 3 days later, Admiral Reyes stood in the partially restored crystal spire, watching as the last Valen transport departed Ataraxian orbit under heavy guard from Earth vessels. Beside her, Elder Nerea's translucent form seemed to glow with renewed hope. Your people have given us back our world, the Elder said. We cannot repay such a debt. No debt exists between friends, Reyes replied. Earth answered your call because someday we may need to make one of our own. Nerea's features shifted in what Reyes had learned was an Ataraxian smile. The galaxy will speak of this, of how humans came from beyond known space to challenge the unconquerable. Let them speak, Reyes said. Let the Valen tell the story of the day they learned that not all species accept conquest as inevitable. Let them warn others that somewhere, in a system they never considered important, lives a species that will cross galaxies to defend those who cannot defend themselves. As Reyes prepared to return to her ship, a young Ataraxian approached, offering her a small crystalline sculpture. It depicted human and Ataraxian figures standing together. We have already begun creating art of your arrival, the youth explained. Of the day fire fell from our skies, not to destroy, but to save. Reyes accepted the gift carefully. What do you call this piece? The young artist's voice filled with reverence. We call it, When Earth Answered. Later, as the UES Defiant prepared for the wormhole jump back to the Sol system, Reyes stood on the observation deck, the sculpture catching light from distant stars. Major Romano joined her, his uniform still bearing scorch marks from the final evacuation. Mission accomplished, Admiral, he said simply. Reyes nodded. This time, but the Valen Empire is vast, and now they know about us. Good, Romano replied. Let them worry for a change. Let them look to the stars and wonder when Earth might appear. The Admiral smiled slightly. We showed restraint this time. The Prometheus Protocol could have been deployed immediately. Would you have done it? Collapse the field if Xal refused. Reyes was silent for a long moment. We're explorers by nature, Major. But when pushed, she turned to face him, her expression resolute. Make no mistake, we'd have done whatever was necessary. That's the message that will spread faster than any Valen fleet. When Earth answers a call for help, we do not leave until the job is finished. The stars outside seemed to bend as the wormhole drive engaged, carrying Earth's warriors home, until the next silent cry reached across the void. Retroclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.